All right. Thank you, everyone who just joined. Today, we're going to be talking about volunteer software and how to choose a volunteer management software solution with confidence. So who am I? My name is Micah. I'm a software sales advisor for Better Impact for the western half of the United States, and connect with those who may be smaller or maybe an enterprise scale organization that are looking for a new volunteer management software solution for their program. Uh, I'm located in the Pacific Northwest, in the state of Washington, but my roots are in the Midwest, from Kansas City. Graduated from the University of Missouri with a Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Uh, and Up here now that I'm in Washington State, love to go on hikes with my wife.
Micah is a person.
So that's a bit about me. Now it's your turn. So everybody, let's go ahead and use the chat and see who's all here, where you're from. Uh, and then, yeah, just a kind reminder for everybody to put yourselves on mute. There will be time for a Q&A. I'm at the end. So, all right, who do we got today? And then as everybody's introducing themselves, there'll be a few questions I'll ask as well. And we'll use a Zoom poll for that. So Katie's our first person, another Pacific Northwest person over here, Portland, Oregon, just 2 hours away from me. Boulder. And then here we go. Now we're international. So Ottawa. All right, Miriam, Bridget, Cassie, thank you for joining. Going to admit some more people in here. And Kim Erickson. All right. Another Colorado. Vancouver, West Coast. California. Here we go. Now we're on the other side of the country. Tennessee. Sarah, thank you for joining. All right. I feel like we have enough people in here, but yeah, feel free to continue to use the chat to introduce yourself. We have Taryn from Alberta. They did more from Vancouver, Pina. So this is the first question I'm going to be asking. I'm actually going to pull a Zoom chat on here. So this is just the slides to just demonstrate the question. Just kind of think of it now. Have you ever used a VMS before? That's going to be one of the two questions I'll share in the poll. The other one would be which tool are you using the most to manage your program? So I'm just going to go ahead and open that poll right now. Let's go ahead and launch. So we should see the questions on here. First one, have you used a VMS? Single choice, so straightforward, yes, no, not sure. And then the second one, which tool are you using the most? It's multiple choice, so feel free to select as many options that are needed there. And then if it's other, feel free to share within the chat. I always like knowing what kind of other tools that you're using. For those who are curious what other may mean, in my experience, sometimes it's like Access or a CRM or something along the lines of that. So I'll let this poll run for a minute. And we're having great participation. I appreciate everybody putting in their answers. I'll go ahead and share these results here in a minute. Okay, wow. Minute in, we have 100% participation. Thank you, everyone. Okay, let me share these results that we have on here. Hopefully everybody can see this. So 60-40 using a VMS. So we have a good mix of a crowd in here. And which tool using the most? And yeah, a lot of people using a spreadsheet. And you're not alone using a spreadsheet. I'd say about 40% of people who meet with me are using a spreadsheet and they're looking for the first VMS. So a lot of these numbers here make a total amount of sense. And then Katie shared that Razor's Edge for volunteer records. I've definitely run into that before. It's another option on there that for something that's not specifically a spreadsheet or a VMS. Sometimes other tools are being used to manage a volunteer management system. Thanks again, everyone. So now back to the slide. So anybody who's here, have you ever felt like this? And when you see this person on here, what comes to your mind? Like, what emotions? I'll share mine. When I see her, the first thing that I think of is overwhelmed. And feel free to use the chat if anybody wants to share anything like maybe fatigue, frustrated, those come to mind as well. Yeah. And if you've ever felt like this, it just might be because you don't have the right tools for the job. And it could be one of the many reasons why all of you are joining me here today. So you have to think there has to be a better way, right? Because when the challenges we experience in our role increase, we can start to feel like this poor lady in this image. And then some of the common problems that people experience are just things along the lines of just too much manual work, not enough time engaging volunteers, and with all the work they have in that manual data entry, maybe it's not even accurate. Yeah, Jenna says, heck yes, new to the role in management, designing a program from scratch. Good luck to you, Jenna. We are rooting for you. Congrats on your new role. That's awesome. This is an interesting, so there was a survey released by G2 a couple years ago. For those who are not familiar with what G2 is, it's a software review site where you can evaluate different kinds of softwares that include VMS. And this survey, they asked questions for over 1,000 people. And one of the questions, or the answers to the question that I found interesting, is that more than half of employees are unhappy at work, not necessarily because of the job, but because of the tools that they're using. It was found that just a little over half of the employees were unhappy at work because of they weren't using the right tools for the job. It just shows it plays a huge role in job satisfaction, as there was another question in this same survey to where they found that 1 in 8 people left their job due to mismatched software. So it's important to have the right tools for the job. So what does a VMS include? It can include an abundance of things, not only helping people who are here on the call, volunteer engagement professionals, but also volunteers. So volunteer engagement side, of course, helping the program grow over time. So like recruiting, screening those who are applying, training them so they can be onboarded and become active. And then once you have your active volunteers, you can create a schedule, check your calendar, engage with them, send communications through email or text, either to some or all, and then a one-stop shop to find all the data that you're tracking on them, to pull reports on the hours, the times that they logged, and a whole lot more. Like I mentioned, not only makes it easier for you volunteer engagement professionals, but also those who are volunteering with the program, just making the process as seamless as possible to apply online, for them to see any news that you're sharing through different communication methods, ways for them to get involved themselves without you having to take your time for that. So like the ability for them to see where the vacancies are, for them to self-schedule the volunteer potentially on the go with an app. And then they can manage their own schedule, update their own information, track their progress, how their hours are going, run reports on those, and a whole lot more. I don't think a spreadsheet can do all of that. So let's get you feeling more like this lady here, who's reaping the benefits of using a VMS. Obvious ones: better use of your time, which includes volunteers, accurate data so you know where your program is at, and you can set goals on where you want to achieve in the long run, keeping everybody engaged so they stay with the program, they stay committed. And then of course, security, making sure everybody's information is safe and in the right system. And just a combination of all of that can help bring morale to everybody, just better. But in order to get to that specific like state, to land in that better place, a change must happen. Like everybody knows on here, it's said way too many times, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, that's the birth of insanity right there. So to land in a better change to that desired state, change must happen. And this is just a quote from Albert, one of the greatest thinkers of all time, Albert Einstein. We cannot solve our problems with the same level of thinking that created them. It's also important to recognize that how we think can be perpetuating the problems we are experiencing. and it could be hindering us from getting to that desired state or better place. So just think, are you ready to make that change to reach that desired state? And if not, what's preventing the change? Attitudes. Attitudes are learned ways of responding to people and situations based on the beliefs, values, and assumptions we hold that are reflected in our behavior. And what I'm showing on this slide here is some of the attitudes that you may find around with your team or your colleagues. Some of the obvious ones can be like, oh, we can't afford software. And sometimes that can make sense on the surface, as I know budget can be tight depending where you're at. But something that also has to be asked if it's mentioned that software cannot be afforded is, what are the costs of not using the software? Since that can be overlooked, because all of the additional time spent on duplicated efforts like back-end data entry and new applicants and other spreadsheet work can have a lot of costs there. Spreadsheets are free. Are they really? All that time looking at spreadsheets coming at zero cost, because that doesn't even account for the human error working in that busy environment. We already use so many tools, we don't need to add another one. Sometimes I find the opposite to be true. Sometimes when you add a tool, you can subtract other tools, and that's really what the purpose of a volunteer management system is. So you're not disconnected using so many different things as one. And then one of my favorites is, but volunteers can't use technology. Is that really true? Like, how many people have parents, grandparents that have a smartphone or use a computer or Facebook? So a lot of assumptions are made on that one there. So yeah, everybody check in with yourself before, during, and after this journey. Just kind of where your attitudes are at. Is it creating a friction or flow and supporting your ability to reach to that desired state, reaching that goal? Whoa, we went a little ahead there. So before we jump into that, something I just want to share is that supporting all of this today, you're going to receive a template at the end of this in an email that you'll be able to follow to make the journey finding your next VMS as easy as possible. It's going to help reduce a lot of heavy lifting for you and those involved. It's going to eliminate a lot of guesswork and uncertainty. So that way you're confident in making you're going towards the right path and making the right decision for your program to get you using the better tools for your job. And something to always keep in mind is you're not alone. Others have done this, and you may even know other peers out there who have gone through this process, which it's definitely great to lean on. Maybe they already know a system or have a system in place and gone through this process before. So it's always great inquiring with your peers as you're getting started with this process. But the first step we have to identify is, what is the problem, and then what is our goal, so we know what to achieve. There's going to be a lot of problems, of course, so let's focus on shedding light on the main problem. Some are going to have more priorities to others to their consequential impact on people and the organization. So after the webinar, like I said, you'll receive some resources, and one's going to be our buyer's guide, which with those who haven't found that yet, it's a fillable PDF we provide. It just helps make your journey a whole lot easier, so that way you know you're going in the right direction and you're finding a system that's going to work in the long term. Along with that, there'll be some worksheets that I'll also share in these coming slides. This first one here is a problem statement, a worksheet you can use to brainstorm, okay, what's the problem, who it affects, and what are the consequences if we ignore this problem. And it can range from a lot of things. It can be, like I mentioned earlier, just too much manual work, too much data entry, too many different tools, too much time spent in spreadsheets, lack of security. And something I've come to learn since I've been here with Better Impact is that a lot of the times you all volunteer engagement professionals know that if VMS is a great idea already, you don't need any convincing at all. It's just the issue is you got to convince into leadership because they don't always understand the complexities that happen when involving in a volunteer program. Sometimes it can be like, oh yeah, just really nice people giving away their free time. So the purpose of this really is to land on a clear and concise statement where you can communicate to leadership why this is a problem, what are the consequences are, especially if they can lead to big things such as damage to the reputation or of the organization, as that will affect leadership directly right there. That can get them going. So yeah, we made this problem statement exercise to help you with that, to make your journey easier. And then this is an example of a problem that was a problem statement on here: to select a VMS that our team is confident will solve our challenges and elevate our program or organization to new heights of mission achievement. Because once we have and identified our problem, now we can set a goal. It doesn't have to be one goal. It can be many goals. Sometimes it's easier to start small, such as, who else on my team sees value in a VMS and can help support and communicate the problem to leadership, to help get a voice around the table, to make sure that the problem's heard. And then maybe can lead to other goals, such as, okay, now we have our problems, we have our goal, now let's build a team. Who's on that team? So that way there's a plan to get this in front of leadership for support of the project. Because it's always better taking a team effort. Don't try to do this alone. A new volunteer management system's going to be used by many, and having one person making the decision for something used by many is just going to lead to a recipe for disaster. So a team approach is definitely the way to go. And what's being shown on here, just a sample of what a team could look like. Typically, it's going to be a combination. It's not always going to have everyone. It's going to depend on your structure. Of all these, though, one that I believe is an absolute must-have is the coordinator, volunteer engagement professional, manager must be involved in the process. They're going to be the ones using the system most on a day-to-day basis, knowing what the most important features are. And a lot of the times they should be key users and lead the team to for this project. So including the coordinator is going to lead to the most success when selecting a software. But again, not being alone, just it's always important having IT in mind to assess the system requirements, because what IT is going to do is they're going to ask questions you may not ask that could be very important to help protect your program or organization, such as, is the data encrypted? Does it have two-factor authentication? Does it have specific security certifications like ISO 27001? And then the benefit is, once those questions have been asked and answered, and we have those, now IT can be used as leverage to leadership that they vetted the system and it's going to meet your requirements. And not everybody's going to have an IT department, just depending the structure of your organization. But if you don't have an IT department, it's definitely recommend outsourcing. And if budget's tight, it's a great idea to scan your volunteer base to see if somebody can help you there, because volunteers we want to include in this process as well, since they have a vested interest. They're going to be using the system as well to help track their own hours, self-schedule. They're going to want it to be as user-friendly and as simple as possible. And we all know volunteers come in all different backgrounds. So it's good to have some sort of inclusion, and a kind of a simple approach to have is choose one volunteer on your team that's more tech savvy and one not so much. So then you can get great representation. Let's see, there's sometimes some places may have a project manager or consultant as well to help lead the project. And it could be a great idea, especially if it's in budget, particularly, especially if they're including everybody on the team, because they've been there, they've done that. They know who they know the marketplace very well. They've done it for so many years. They know who the top vendors are, what the pros and cons are, each of those. So then that way they can listen to what your needs are and match you to the right solution. And the last one's on here: board of directors, executive director, just depending on your structure. they're important, but they may not be involved as much. As you know, very busy people are doing a whole bunch of different things, but the critical things that they do is give you that thumbs up for the approval to go looking for a new system, and then that final stamp of approval. So once we have our team, then now we can lay out who's all on our team, what their name is, what they do, why are they involved in the worksheet here. The team's identified, so now we need to come to an agreement. What are our needs? What are our must-haves? What are the deal breakers? What are the things that we desire to have? The needs are what we're going to use to measure against each vendor that we find, each potential software, and then we need to prioritize those needs, which we'll discuss those, because of course not every software is going to have everything that you would like, but you definitely want them to cover the requirements, and then from there finding the best fit for your program. And this is the hardest part. A lot of times the hardest part of the journey is when you're starting, and then it's like, okay, so where do we start? There's so many different options out there. Better Impact has been around since the year 2000, so we're counting on like 23 years. And at the time, it was one of the few options out there. But now there's just so many. It's people do a Google search, they don't know where to start. So it's critical to know to understand your vendors. There is a website called volunteersoftwarecomparisons.com, volunteersoftwarecomparisons.com, that can help simplify the search, because it lays out who all the top options are out there on the marketplace. They have links to their website. They have direct reviews, and you can easily contact them. It just helps simplify that journey. So understanding your vendors, critical step. And like I said, the marketplace is crowded. There are critical questions to ask. What questions do we even ask? I would say evaluate vendors on these categories. So I would, there is a vendor profile spreadsheet to help track those questions. But before go into that, I just want to discuss kind of the areas to look at. The first thing you probably want to look at is the potential software solutions credibility, their stability. How long have they been around? How transparent are they? Do they provide how much information do they provide about the product? Do they list out the features? Do they even have like a video to demonstrate parts of the software? Do they offer a way to test it out? Those different things like that. The base foundation. Okay, is this a credible option? Then that can lead to other requirements such as technological. We definitely want to start there. Like how well does the product keep the data secure? Is it encrypted? Does it offer 2FA? And anything we find in terms of the features, the cost, we always have to weigh that against the security, as we never want to sacrifice data security for convenience or for cheaper cost. Those are definitely must-haves there. Support's key too. Oh, Katie's wondering what the website is. I'm just going to go ahead and just drop that in the chat. I believe it's mentioned on another slide on here too. I'm just going to go ahead and drop that in the chat. volunteersoftwarecomparisons.com. Hopefully I spelled that right. But yeah, support, like what I mentioned. It's one thing, you choose a system, it meets all your technological requirements, it has all the features you like, but then it's another thing is, let's say you subscribe to that system, and then all of a sudden you can't contact a human being at all. Which is why it's great evaluating the support, checking with other people who have used it as a way to validate that. Is there a way to access a human being? Is there a chat, phone, email? What are the hours? And then how responsive are they? Do they respond quick? Does it take a few days? And then with those responses, what are the quality of those responses? Are they clear? Are they answering the question? Other areas, budget. So we definitely want to be asking questions like how the billing works. Each system, as I've learned, they build in different ways. Sometimes it's by admin, or by number of fields, number of volunteers? What are the recurring and one-time costs? What's included in the subscription? Are there potential upgrades or a la carte features that can be included as add-ons? And then functional, what are the features? Does it cover recruitment? Can you send emails or texts? Does it come with scheduling, an app? On top of all of those features, now ask yourself, is it usable? Is it user-friendly? Not only just on the administrator side, but for the volunteer as well. And when diving into different systems, of course, not always is everything going to be always as easy as possible. So something to also ask is, are there training materials to help me learn the system where I can envision myself down the line seeing this being very, very, very user-friendly and very easy to use to access my information, send messages and engage with volunteers, pull reports, and then supporting just kind of all of those options. The last thing would be thinking about the scalability, because a lot of the times the reason why we're here in this first place is because maybe the program started small. We had like 20, 30 volunteers, spreadsheets were fine until we're at a couple of hundred. And now we need to look for a software. But then while we're on that software, we still have to think as it continues to grow, because we do our jobs well, we recruit more, and then the volunteers grow. So how can the system grow to match that? And how easy is that process? So yeah, I already showed this slide. This is an example of one of the worksheets on here. You listen, ask the questions, V1, V2, V3. These are our different vendors. It has 5 different columns on here. It has typically it's best evaluating seriously, no more than 5 at a time, so then you can help make a clearer and more informed decision. We definitely don't want to be going to that ice cream shop with too many ice cream flavors. We want it to be clear, so we're not making any gut decisions. And with that worksheet, we're matching that with our needs right here. So as you see, we have all of our needs here on this column, all of our different vendors right here, our different priorities. So MSN, must have, should have, nice to have, and then breaks that down over here on this next slide. So must have, straightforward, mandatory, deal breaker. If they don't have it, time to look for something else. The should have, we want to have it. It should have it. It may not have all of our should haves, but we want to find the one that has the most, and maybe even all of them. And then the icing on the cake, the nice to have. So the features that we dream to have, if it's left out, it has little impacts taken out. It's just a bonus. Now, okay, what have we done so far? So we've identified the problem. We've set goals. We built our team. We found our needs. So let's talk about this journey and discuss the different stages. Something that's key to know too is to never, ever, ever rush the journey. Make sound and informed decisions, and that can even mean not being afraid to clarify with each vendor you're evaluating, to have another demo or another call just to make sure you truly understand what you're getting into, because the last thing you want to do is choose the wrong one and have to go through this process over and over again, as it can really take away from what you're trying to do with your program with all that additional cost and time sink. So what are the stages? We have it broken down into 4 right here. So starting with who are the contenders, and then we filter what the top options are before scheduling a demonstration. Then after that demonstration, test out the product before finally subscribing. Commonly, it could be about a 2 to 4 month process. That's not going to fit everybody. I'd say maybe 90% it will. Some smaller organizations might take a couple weeks, while others that have multiple departments where you need to pass on approval from one person to the next and to the next person before we finally get that go ahead. Sometimes it can take almost a year. But yeah, I'd say 2 to 4 would make the most sense for 2 to 4 months and make the most sense for most people. So the first stage 1, typically no longer than a month, about 2 to 4 weeks. have it broken down into 4 different steps here. So we talked about some of these already. So like first identifying your needs, coming up with the team, which can take about a week. And then once we build our foundation, we can move into step 2 by having the team review all the needs to make sure everybody's on the same page in like a 1 to 2 hour meeting. So then that way, the goal coming out of that is, okay, now we all clearly know what we need. Let's go ahead and research and find a match for that. And this is where it mentions the volunteer software comparisons.com to kind of help make that process as easy as possible. Hopefully not much longer than a week. And then after reviewing our options, which we want to have our volunteer services team involved, and especially in IT as well, it's a great combination there. Looking at the day-to-day kind of features to help meet the needs while not sacrificing any security. Once that's all done, another meeting with the team to have our first round of short listing to see like who makes the first cut, and then we can move them on to the next stage. So the first thing we want to look at the technological requirements, making sure we're meeting all the system requirements in terms of data security, and then looking at the must-haves on the feature functional side, that it fits budget, that it has great support. So when shortlisting, you can name out all the different serious contenders, which ones make that first cut to move on into the next stage. And then for those that do not make it, let's provide a reason. So that way we have a clear paper trail of why we're taking the direction that we're taking on here, which the next stage is the demo. So broken down into 2 stages, could take a couple of weeks. A lot of the times it can start with watching maybe videos on a website where it can provide maybe a demonstration there, where you can come up with a list of questions, and then from there, contacting the vendor and having a more specific personalized demo based on your needs. So that way you can communicate with them, let them know what you're looking for in the system, and then they can help show how the solution can fit and meet your needs. You can take notes from that, maybe have some follow-up questions later. This is definitely where we're going to be communicating with the different softwares on here. And once we go through all of their options, typically no more than five demos from different vendors. Then with the team, we'll go ahead and discuss kind of the takeaways, which ones are the best fit, and get everybody's perspectives on here in a 1 to 2 hour meeting to help determine which the top ones are to move forward to the next stage and another round of shortlisting. Demonstrations are very feature oriented on here. So a lot of the times when making these decisions, we're going to base it on the functional requirements, starting with the must-haves. And then, we can choose out of the ones we demoed, which ones can we continue to take on to the next stage, and which ones we can disqualify. And sometimes with some places, you can find you could be down to potentially 1 key contender that you can take to that stage to potentially trial. We recommend having at least 2 options right here. Two is the ideal situation here, because you can have like one half of one team testing one product and another testing the other. So then that way, when it's time to meet and review after the trial, you can have a whole lot of takes of what were the benefits of system A versus system B. Something I also want to mention in terms of starting the trials, to make sure that only start this phase when you know you have time for it. Definitely, even if it means that we have to push the project a little bit, it's much better investing in this stage when you know you have that dedicated time, so you can get a true evaluation of the product. A lot of the times different vendors can it can range from different cycles. So it's good asking this, like maybe even in the demonstration as well. Do you have a trial, and how long is it? Typically ranges from a week to a month. I'm right here. And when evaluating the trial, the main focus on that is looking at its usability. So when discussing in the meeting, not only just kind of testing if the features really match to what the vendor said that it does, but also how usable is it, or even testing the support. And that's what that third round of shortlisting I've discussed is, starting with the must-haves, user friendliness and support of the software. And then we can list out the ones that we've trialed, and then pick the one we're going with, and selecting the reason why we're not going with the other ones. So then once we're at this stage, now we can bring this to leadership and show them the process that we've gone through. And like I said, have a paper trail of why we're leading to this decision right here, why this is the best fit, what the problem is, and what the goal is, have that communicated to them. So then hopefully within a day to potentially a month, depending where you're at, you can get that approval. So once you're right here, you're right there, you're almost at the finish line. Now it's just a matter of gaining that approval. And like I mentioned on here, we want to take this journey one step at a time. We want to make sound and informed decisions. We don't want to make any quick ones. We want to plan, prepare, and execute that plan. So then at the very end, you can choose a volunteer management system with confidence. And that's what this webinar is about. And we're, like I said, we're Better Impact. We're one of the volunteer management software solutions that you can look at. Like I said, we'll be sharing some helpful resources in the next coming days, so that way you can use that to kind of help find the next system for you. But just a little bit about us, like what I mentioned on the previous slides. Our software covers all of that, from like an online application to custom volunteer profiles to running reports on those custom profiles, and even customizing the steps that they need to complete, such as maybe specific trainings, background checks. We actually integrate with Sterling Volunteers if anybody uses Sterling Volunteers for background checks. One of the areas we stand out is there's a e-learning component where volunteers can take quizzes or trainings on those, like through a video or through a PowerPoint. You can track the who's on the schedule, have volunteers self-schedule, or admins can schedule a combination of those, blasting emails or text messages to all or some volunteers. And like I said, different reports, not only on hours, but what happens within your program. And then there's an app and a whole lot more. And one of the other ways where we stand out is we're a here to help company. We pride ourselves in having some of the best support out there. We're located globally too. So not only here in North America, but also Australia, United Kingdom, Portugal. And so that's how we try to keep our responsive as quick as possible. It could be nighttime in North America, but it's daytime in Australia. So somebody will be there to help answer questions. And I appreciate everybody getting involved here. So there is going to be a recording. That's going to be one of the resources that you'll receive at the end of this. It'll come probably tomorrow, but definitely by Friday. So just keep an eye out on that email, and then it'll also cover some of the worksheets that were shared in this presentation. So then that way you can use those tools to help you find the right system with confidence. And then from this, we'll go, before we start the Q&A, just want to drop some resources on here. One of them is the PDU, Professional Development Unit Certificate. So that way those who have participated can receive PDU credits. And just be sure to open this up during the webinar. So that way you can receive those credits, as this meeting will have to be open for that. And then we'll get right into the Q&A, which looks like Cassie has a question. What languages does the system come in? So the system comes in multiple languages. There's English, Spanish, French, Portuguese. Those are the ones that I can think of in the top of our head. And what that does is that allows you to translate the interface of the software. So like the menus, the built-in items. Something to consider is like any custom field that's being created, it will appear as that language. But another cool thing to keep in mind is like for like application, there's ways to set different landing pages in separate languages as well, depending on the URL settings. There's one more resource I'm just sharing here too before diving into the Q&A is we have multiple webinars at betterimpact.com/events. So if you find these helpful, feel free to check that out and find out more events to sign up for. And yeah, all right. So Q&A time. Thomas, can you say more about the volunteer portal? Are volunteers able to interact, communicate with each other, discussion groups, sharing resources? So happy to share more on the volunteer portal. So volunteers are able to communicate with each other within that portal. It is email based. And the way how that's set up is on the back end, you create committees and then you place volunteers in those committees. So once the volunteers are in their portal, whether that be on the web version or the app version, they can select committee to send communications to via email. And that's where they can discuss with each other, interact, communicate with each other to help pick up maybe particular shifts or share other resources. And more overall about the volunteer portal is it's available on both Apple and Android for the app version, and grants them the ability to self-schedule. You can even, key thing is you can set it up to where they're only signing up for shifts that they have the right qualifications, the requirements for, which you can customize. So that way it's just saving everybody's time there at the beginning. And they can even like update or like upload documents to their profile. So that way, like let's say a driver's license expires, they'll be able to upload their new driver's license. So that way you're able to review the new document that they uploaded. Does Better Impact connect with Absorb? We have a large training component through Absorb. So it sounds like Absorb some sort of like kind of maybe learning management. There's a lot of different systems out there. We don't have any direct like integration with Absorb. Something that's also key to know within the software for those who have like integration questions is there's the ability to run reports within the software and then export the profiles. You can even save specific reports should it be recurring and you're regularly extracting things out either in Excel, PDF, CSV format. And in terms of trainings, we have an e-learning component where you can set up a series of questions and then volunteers can like review content either in like a video, text, pictures, GIF, PowerPoint format. And the benefit of using the e-learning component within our software, if possible, is once they pass those trainings on there, you can link qualification fields with those. So that way they can self-check themselves from that training step. So common example, let's say there's an orientation training that they need to complete. They watch a video, they take a quiz, they get all the right, they pass the orientation training. Now they can have that orientation qualification or requirement step automatically completed since you can link that with the lesson. Thank you, Katie. And yeah, feel free to dive in, everybody, and ask more questions. Other things that I will share too while I wait for some more questions to come in is on our website, you'll be able to find demo videos to learn more about the software. There's even a link where you can book a meeting directly with me. So then we can discuss based on your specific needs. And then if you're curious about specific features as well, there's ways to not only see the videos, but actually open a trial and test out the system for 30 days. And you don't have to feel pressured by those like 30 days as well, because anything you build during that time period can save and transfer over should you decide to move forward with the software. You'll never lose any progress. You can keep that moving forward. Just waiting for more questions. I appreciate everybody coming here today. And it looks like Sophia, we have a question. Were you able to upload volunteer application forms or create them in the volunteer portal. So with our software, it is possible to make a custom application form, and you can set, it can be as simplistic or as extensive as you like. You can brand it to your organization. And within that application, it can range from things like for them to upload specific documents. And then there can be a mix and match of maybe there's just like some initial things you want to initially intake to review, and then maybe you want them to input other information later. With those questions, which you build using custom fields, you can place them in their volunteer portal for them to update over time. And then once they make any changes, it's possible to set it in a way where you're notified on your main page, so you can review what those changes are, and then you can run reports based on which step or steps they have not completed. Thank you, Sophia. Wait for more questions. And who provides the e-learning? Better Impact, or should we upload trainings? So thank you, Miriam. The e-learning component's built within the software. So you'll create the content either by like dropping a simple link to YouTube video, or it's possible to embed with HTML coding, or you can just do simple like text, plain text, or lay out images or GIFs, and then you design what the questions are in multiple choice format, choosing what the right questions, what the right question is, what the pass rate is, and then you build a whole library of different e-learning and different trainings from there. And Sophie asks, if a volunteer has an app with another agency, can it be linked with multiple agencies who have the volunteer impact portal? That's a very great question. So if a volunteer is already using our volunteer portal, which is called My Impact page, they can still use their same login when they apply, because the first step when they apply to your custom application is it asks if they have an account or not. And if they do have an account, they can skip that create an account step. And if they know they have one, they've forgotten one, they can click a forgot username password link to reset if needed. And then the way how it works is, so within their personal portal, once they're involved with multiple organizations, they have the ability to toggle which organization they want to sign up for, see the schedule for, which organization do they want to log hours for or run reports on. And then more importantly, there's not going to be a way on the admin side, if you're not involved with the other organizations, for you to know if they're involved in another organization. So that way it keeps everybody's data private and separated. You're only going to be able to see what the volunteer is involved with within your program. Does Better Impact assist with data migration? Katie asks. We do. We have a data import process in place to help you with that. So there's a when on our website, you'll find there's probably a way to like make a quote, and it can lay out that pricing on there. Speaking in USA terms for United States pricing, it's a one-time payment of $100 to do it a la carte for like the standard contact information. And then all that service is also included in the optional plus package. If you're looking on our website and you saw there's like that plus, that's one of the services available. So we can import those profiles for you from an Excel spreadsheet. So that way you have your current volunteers in the system, and you can move other custom columns to an additional fee. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Miriam. Thank you, Sophia. And like I mentioned, for those who didn't catch it, you'll receive a recording to this. So if you missed out some parts, you can go back and rewatch it. So keep an eye out in the next 1 to 2 days for that. And then I'll have some of these worksheets that I provided today. So that way you can use that and choose the right volunteer management solution with confidence. So thanks again, everyone, and enjoy. Appreciate everybody's participation and joining.